This summer, more than 1 billion people will watch the World Cup. And not one of them will look at the most carefully engineered thing on the field: the grass. Grown in another state, refrigerated across the country, and built to be completely invisible. Start with the truck. Right now, somewhere in America, a refrigerated truck is crossing the country to keep a load of grass alive, harvested in the dark so it doesn't wither, driven 1,000 miles, tracked by the minute. One of the scientists running this actually called it the most micromanaged grass in the world. Here's what nobody tells you about a World Cup pitch. It is not allowed to be artificial. FIFA's rulebook demands natural grass, and in the men's tournament, that rule has held since 1930. Every match, every final, played on something that's alive, which is a real problem, because this time the World Cup is in America. And America plays its football on plastic, often indoors. Out of the 11 U.S. stadiums used in the World Cup, 7 normally play on artificial turf. And so does one more, Vancouver, up in Canada. So 8 venues had to install a natural grass pitch over the surface that was already there. 5 of them even have roofs. And famously, grass needs sun. We'll get back to this. So why does FIFA treat grass like a sacrament? 3 reasons. First, the ball rolls and bounces differently on artificial turf. FIFA wants the game to play the same way everywhere. And if the ball behaves differently, it's not quite the same game anymore. Second, on artificial turf, players get injured more often. It puts greater strain on knees and joints, and the research on that has been strong for years. And third, players just don't like it, which sounds subjective. But if your career depends on trusting the surface beneath your feet, that matters a lot. And this isn't theoretical. In the 1980s, 4 English clubs tore out their grass and laid down plastic. One of them used a synthetic carpet over a base of tarmac. Good luck sliding into a tackle on that. The ball bounced like it was on concrete, high, fast, and over defenders' heads, and players walked off with burns from diving on what was basically a polyester rug. It stuck around for a few seasons, then the sport decided it had seen enough. By the mid-90s, the last plastic pitch had been ripped up, and the Premier League forbids artificial surfaces to this day. So when FIFA says grass, it means it. But the job isn't put real grass in 16 buildings. That would be a landscaping contract. The real demand is much stranger. Every pitch has to play identically. Same roll, same bounce, in all 16 stadiums. A player shouldn't be able to feel which country he's in. Which would be easy if the stadiums matched, but they don't. 3 different countries, 3 different climates. Mexico City sits at altitude. Miami and Monterey are brutally hot. Seattle, Vancouver, and Boston are cool and gray. And Houston spends every spring hosting the largest rodeo on Earth. 2.5 million people. A stadium floor buried under tons of dirt. Crews had about 90 days to turn that into a World Cup pitch. The fastest conversion of that scale that was ever attempted. So you can't just use one grass species. The hot, open-air stadiums get Bermuda grass, which loves heat. The cool ones and the dark, domed ones get Kentucky bluegrass and ryegrass, which survive on less light. Which leads to a strange result. A domed stadium in the hot South might get its grass from a farm in Denver or Washington. Northern grass for a building whose roof won't let the southern sun in. The map of where the grass grows looks nothing like the map of where it's played. Nobody designed that to look sensible. They designed it to work. But we still haven't dealt with the roofs, and the roofs are where this goes from difficult to, by any honest definition, impossible. Some of these stadiums are sealed and grass is solar powered. No sun, no photosynthesis, no surface. You cannot grow a World Cup pitch in a dark building. It's not possible. Or at least it shouldn't be possible. But a man named Trey Rogers made it happen in 1994. The last time the Men's World Cup came to North America, FIFA wanted to try something nobody had ever done before: play matches indoors. One venue was the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan, roofed, letting in less than a tenth of normal daylight, so they handed it to a turf scientist at Michigan State, Trey Rogers. He later called it the holy grail of turf science. He came up with an innovative solution. You grow the grass in the sun outside, then forklift them into the dome as modules, lock them together into a pitch days before kickoff, and haul them back out afterward to recover. Grass that commutes. He proved you could keep a living field alive indoors long enough to play on it, then take it back out. And that principle, grow it in the sun and bring it in, is what makes the domed pitches in 2026 possible at all. So when FIFA hit the same wall for 2026, 30 years on, they called the same man. Rogers is still at Michigan State, and his co-lead, John Sorochan, was his student back in 1994. But 2026 isn't 1994. Back then, it was one pitch, one dome, an experiment, watched on fuzzy standard definition TV. This is 16 pitches at once. Deserts, cold rain, sealed roofs, each one required to play identically. Broadcasted in 4K, where a single bad divot fills the screen. John Rogers proved it was possible in 1994, but doing it 16 times perfectly with billions watching? That's a different beast. So what is a 2026 World Cup pitch really? Not just grass on dirt, a layer cake that costs millions. At the bottom, the original artificial turf left in place, then a drainage layer of engineered plastic cells, then about 6 inches of sand. Enough that, in the words of FIFA's own expert, a player feels nothing but natural give underfoot. And on top, the grass. But not just grass, it's a hybrid. Before the grass even goes in, a machine stitches millions of thin plastic fibers straight down into the soil bed. Then the grass grows up between them, and its roots wrap around the fibers, knitting plastic and living turf into one mat far tougher than any lawn, strong enough to take 90 minutes of studs and a closing ceremony. All of it is grown to maturity on a farm and cut as thick sod. In the stadium, it's simply laid on top of the floor that's already there, which is why the entire pitch can be lifted back out when the football's done. They build the best grass in the world, then schedule its removal before anyone's ever kicked a ball. But how exactly do you prove a pitch in Dallas plays like a pitch in Vancouver? Surely you can't just, eyeball it. Naturally, they built a robot foot, a cleated rig that mimics a player's foot hitting the ground, then measures exactly how the surface responds. They ran it across something like 125 stadiums, several of them in England, just to calibrate what correct feels like. If all of this sounds intense, it's because it is. The labor cost is huge. Dallas alone reported 45,000 work hours and 15,000 tons of material for one temporary pitch. For a field, they tear up in July. So, long story short, grass grown on plastic in the north, cut at night so it won't wither, refrigerated across a continent. A different species for every sky, the same roof problem, handed to the same scientists, 30 years apart. A robot foot. 45,000 hours for one field they'll rip up in weeks. And all of it with one goal in mind, that you never notice it. The grass succeeds only if it disappears. If you notice it, patchy, slow, it's failed. And so has everyone who spent years on it. The most engineered surface at the World Cup is the one the broadcast is built to ignore. 1 billion people, a month of football. And the thing every player touches, and nobody watches, is the lawn.